All right, so this last weekend, I was not practicing on the Runeterra World server because I was actually in Columbus, Ohio for the Flesh and Blood Realm Games $20,000 invitational tournament, which I was fortunate enough to have an invite to. I played one Realm Games tournament and I won, and that gave me an invite, and I wasn't really prepared for it. But I was like, oh, shoot, 2 months out or whatever. Oh, I have an invite. That's so awesome. So I make plans to go. It's going to be me and my buddy Peter Bedensic are going to be the kayfabe players going to the tournament. And since all of my Worlds practice was on Icelander, my plan was just to show up and play Icelander. Unless she Living Legend, or basically got retired, banned in Worlds. The way Flesh and Blood works is if a hero wins enough and they reach a certain amount of like points from winning big events, then eventually they get rotated out. They get retired. It's called being Living Legended. And Icelander did not win Worlds. So she was not getting Living Legended. There was one more tournament between Worlds and the Realm 20K, right? Only one tournament. Icelander's not even the best deck in the game. Not a lot of people play Icelander. I wasn't super worried about it. She would have to take first place. If Icelander won first place at this one tournament, then she would get banned 4 days before I fly out to the 20K, right? And so I'm not super worried about it, but then all of a sudden I get a text from Peter and he says, uh-oh, dude, Icelander's in top 8 of the Battle Hardened, the one event. And I'm like, oh God. So I look at a picture of the top 8, and of the 8 decks, 3 of them are Icelanders. And I'm like, oh no, not like this. But surely at least a couple of them lose, right, in top 8. And so I'm just waiting, refreshing, trying to see how many of them win in quarterfinals. And then we get the picture for the semifinals. There's 4 decks left. All 3 Icelander decks won their match. So it's Icelander versus Icelander, Icelander versus Dromai. Obviously, Icelander won, Icelander versus Icelander. And we're just crossing our fingers, hoping Dromai beats Icelander. Historically favored now that Tome's in the game for Dromai. So we're just going like, come on. And the Dromai beats the Icelander. Icelander versus Dromai in the finals. If Icelander wins, my hero's banned, and I cannot play her in the tournament that I fly out for in 4 days. I'm refreshing the page, and Icelander wins the tournament. Oh, this is Sunday. And at Thursday morning at 6 a.m., I fly out to Ohio for this tournament. I have 0 decks at the ready. I haven't practiced anything else. Only Icelander. Azalea, thank you for the 13 months. Appreciate the sub. So, what do? Panic. I'm just digging for stuff. I don't even own the cards to play any other decks, right? And so I'm just trying to figure something out. And I finally land on Easton Douglas's World's Top 8 Dash list, which is like a fatigue-ish style deck. It's very like, people call it slab dash. It's basically you play very, very defensively while you set up this item package. And once you get this item package, it turns your dinky little pistol into basically Exodia. And you just machine gun people down until they die, right? That's the slab dash. And I was like, oh, I could play that. That sounds kind of fun. The issue is I don't have any of the cards. So I hit up Peter, my teammate. I hit up Job, the guy who owns Kayfabe Cards. And I'm like, hey guys, I need these cards. Can you get them to me? And Job's like, yeah, here's what I have. And Peter's like, oh, cool. I have the rest. I'll bring it. And I go, okay, sick. So I start playing a couple games of Slapdash online and stuff. But most of my time's taken up by the Box TFT event. So I don't like really put a lot of time into it. And finally, I get on the plane. It's Thursday morning and I fly out there. I meet with Peter Thursday night. We have to register the lists at midnight. He gets in at like 8. We go up to the hotel room, we get everything unpacked, and then I try to start putting the deck together. It's like 9:30 at night, so I have 2.5 hours before I have to register my deck list, right? And so I'm taking out the cards and I'm tiling them all out. And something really, really important about this deck is that it has like evos, which is basically things that evolve your equipment. It's pretty important in this deck for various reasons. I'm not going to go super into it, but a lot of the deck's game plans revolves around these evos, right? So I'm looking at the cards that Peter brought me, and I'm like, wait, Peter, I don't have these 3 cards. I don't have the this rounds on me. And he's like, oh, shoot, I forgot them. I forgot them in the same box as the firewalls, which I also wanted to play. So I'm down like cards already. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I can make it work. I can make it work. I really wanted to play these cards, but it's okay. I can make it work. And then I'm going and I have all 6 Evos put out and I have everything else put out. And I'm like filling in spots for the cards that I don't have. And then I look at my Evos and I look back and I look at the Evos again. And Slapdash plays the arms and the legs. And I'm looking. And then it registers. Those aren't the right Evos. Peter brought me the legs and the chest, which is not helpful at all. So I have 2-ish, maybe hours to submit a deck list for this tournament for a deck that I've basically never played and don't even have all the cards for, right? The other thing, though, is in my backpack, I have Kano. I always have Kano. Kano is a wizard hero, and Icelander is the other wizard, the better wizard. Icelander was retired, and we thought, basically, oh, everybody's going to be ready for Kano because you have to defend against wizards differently than you defend against non-wizards. There's certain cards that are very good against wizard and not good against anybody else. And we figured, okay, a lot of people, since it's an invitational, everybody knows who's going. And everyone knows that Peter and I are going to be there. And Peter and I are known Kano enjoyers. Us and a couple other people, namely like Alex Vore. And so we figured, oh, everybody's going to be prepared for us to play Kano. So everybody's going to be ready for it. So we didn't really want to play Kano. But we go downstairs to try to get some dinner at the hotel, like dinner thing. It's like 10 p.m. And I'm just searching. Peter's putting out Twitter like messages. I'm like Googling nearby stores. We're trying to find anybody or any place that has the cards I need. And finally, we get like most of it, kind of, but it would cost me like $100 to buy it all. And I would have to register my deck list and then hope that the Realm games had 2 copies of the arms, which they said they probably do, but maybe not. But since I have to register the deck list before midnight, I would have to register the cards and then show up to the event and hope they had them. And if they don't have them, I'm just a few cards short. I just like don't get to play those cards, right? So we're sitting there and in comes like Nathan Crawford and his gang. And they're like, oh, you guys are on Kano, right? And we're like, no, actually, we're not on Kano. This is why we're not on Kano. But I'm like, oh, we're having a bit of an issue. Do you have these cards? And he's like, wait, those aren't Kano cards. And then we explain what's going on. And he's like, you idiot. You should just play Kano. And I'm like, no, you know, because of X and because of Y. And then everyone else he's with chimes in, no, you should just play Kano. And finally, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll just play Kano. And then Peter's like, I guess if you're going to play Kano, I'll also just play Kano. So we cut the dinner short. We head upstairs, and we have about an hour to put together our deck list. So we start putting together Kano. Yo said several days earlier you should just play Kano. That's true. We start putting together Kano, right? And we're building the deck out again. Now, the thing with Kano is, like, Kano is shit. The deck is not good. It's actually, like, unbelievable how bad the deck is. Every single card in Kano is worse than every card in every other deck, basically. However, how Kano works is that it's the way the deck plays out is that it's worth more than the sum of its parts, basically. You have things that do like multiplicative damage. But it's very hard, so you don't see a lot of people pick up the deck because not only is it very hard, he's very fragile. He has like no health, his armor doesn't block, and all your cards suck. So the list hasn't changed in fucking 2 years, right? But we just have to like put it together. So we put it together, and we have 60 cards that we're playing in every single matchup except one. Against Dromai, we want 3 cards to bring in. Now, the other thing, hey, they all block for 3. That's not true. We have a bunch of 2 blocks and 5 no blocks. The other thing about Kano is that since all your cards suck, your sideboard options suck. Because if you're bringing in other cards, even if they're good against that matchup, you're worsening your deck because you're playing a combo deck and you need the combo pieces. You can't take out your resource cards and you can't take out your combo pieces, so there's really nothing else to take out because there's nothing better to put in, except against Dromai, where we put in 3 cards. So that leaves us with 63 cards that we're playing and 8 pieces of equipment. 63 cards 8 pieces of equipment. That's 71 cards. When you register a Flesh and Blood list, you register 80 cards, right? Of equipment and playable cards. So we have 9 spots left. We have 2 options here. 1, we can put in a bunch of cards to make the Kano mirror slightly more favorable. Option 2, we could bust out my rare binder and put a lot of funny shit in there. So that's what we do. We bust out my trade binder and we look through it and we pick out a bunch of cards that are not even a little bit good, but that you can argue that you would play it for a reason, right? So we have things like, we have 1 copy of Brainstorm in Peter's sideboard, and we argue, oh, it's for the fatigue matchups, because we're always struggling with the fatigue matchups, which is really funny to anyone super who plays a ton of Kano, because fatigue matchups are basically unlosable for you. But we're like, oh no, you got to bring this in, and you got to bring this in, and they're just like a bunch of like super dog shit cards. My sideboard was I bring in a bunch of like attacks that don't do anything. So I have Rouse the Ancients and Zealous Beltings that I can't turn on. Now, if you don't know what Flesh and Blood cards mean, you don't get that joke. But if you do play Flesh and Blood, that's really funny. A bunch of cards like these. And then that night we practiced explaining why they were in our list, just in case one of us top 8'd. Because if one of us top 8'd, the list gets posted on the official website, right? So then everyone who wants to play Kano from then on will Google Kano tournament deck lists, see that one top 8'd the most recent prestigious event, because not a lot of Kanos top 8 anything. They'll pick that deck list and they'll just build it. And there's going to be a lot of really fucking bad cards in there that like shouldn't be in the list, but they won't know, right? But they will have no idea. So we thought that would be just the funniest fucking thing. So we put all those in there. Go to sleep, wake up, jump into the event. Realm Games puts on incredible events. This is my second of their tournaments, and this one was really cool because it's an invitational. And basically, when the tournament started, they said, okay, for the players meeting, go find your seats. And that's usually not how it works. Usually they just tell you to sit down, and you sit down for the game, for your match or whatever. But this time they just said, go find your seats. And we're like, okay, that's weird. And that's because at all the tables with these playmats said the Realm Games, very Christmassy, and then had your name on it, which was like just the coolest thing, right? I was super excited about that. So I get my playmat, I sit down, I look around, I say hi to everybody, because like most of us know each other, right? Most of the players in the Invitational know each other. Codeman Jack was there, right? And we get going. So I sit down, play my first round, and this is where I'm trying to figure out, okay, is this going to be a good tournament for me or a bad tournament? And a good tournament would be I sit down and I play against people that don't have a lot of Arcane Barrier. A bad tournament would be I sit down and all my opponents go, oh, Kano. Yeah, I'm ready for that. We don't want to hear that, right? So I sit down, I say, hey, I'm playing Kano. And my opponent goes, and I'm like, let's go, right? Not going to spend a ton of time on each of the games for the entire weekend, because otherwise it would be a very, very long video. But basically, I start off on a pretty good run. I start off 3-0, Peter starts off 2-1, and we're kind of feeling it, right? My opponents aren't playing very much Arcane Barrier, 1-0. I'm killing people without even comboing them. Like, I'd never once cast an Aether Wildfire into Blazing Aether on my opponent's turn. I will say that my round 1 was the Kano mirror, which was super funny that happened. We got to play it. My opponent did not bring the Illuvian Constellus Waning Moon package. I'm a big fan of the Illuvian Constellus Waning Moon package. I think it's really, really strong. And it allows me to take the control game in the Kano mirrors and just chip them down. And I really, really like that. I don't like to combo. So I cast all 3 wildfires on my own turn, which is generally not something you do. That was actually a very, very fun game. He was in chat earlier. Don't know if he's still here, but had fun. That was a great game. Anyway, get to round 4, and I'm playing against my buddy. I think this was when I'm playing against my buddy, Ethan Van Sant. I played against him at some point during the day. I believe it's round 4. And he's on Levia, which is An incredible matchup for Kano. Incredibly good matchup for Kano. And to make it even better, he's only playing Arcane Barrier 1, which means he can't block very much of my damage, right? You get to see your opponent's deck before you play against them? You do not. Only in top 8. Now, I haven't played Kano a lot in the past year because I've just been playing Icelander over and over. But basically, we sit down, and he starts doing stuff, and I'm sitting there, and I'm calculating on my turn. Oh, can I kill him? I kind of have the combo here. And then he goes, I'm attacking you with this card, 0 resources. And that's the magic words for Kano. I'm like, oh my god, 0 resources. So I have Lessons in Lava in my arsenal, and then my hand is like, Aether Wildfire, blue, blue, blue. And so I just pulled the trigger. But because Ethan said 0 resources, my brain went, ding, 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 you're dead. And I didn't think about it because I know I have the damage. I'm going to go. I'm going to activate Kano twice. I'm going to Storm Striders. I'm going to get my Aether Wildfire to 6. I'm going to Lessons in Lava for 3. It's going to hit for 9. And then I'm going to Blazing Aether. And that's going to hit for 30. Sorry, it's going to be 36 total. My opponent's at 36. I was like, awesome. Or less than that. I was like, awesome. Let's go. You're going to die. So I pull the trigger. I just do the normal combo. Storm Striders, respond, Kano, Kano. The issue is, I'm not used to arsenaling Lessons in Lava. Usually I try to arsenal Wildfire or Blazing. But it's fine because I just need to do the combo a little bit differently. I need to go, activate Kano, hold priority, Storm Striders, hold priority, activate Kano, hold priority. But I don't. I go Storm Striders, hold priority, Kano, Kano. Which fucks up my combo. So my opponent is 100% dead. And I punt the game. Just throw it away. And I lose the game. And I am beating myself up. I can't believe it. Now, it really sucks to lose like that. However, Ethan's a good friend of mine. One of the first friends I ever made in Flesh and Blood, actually. And so I'm happy to keep him alive, to keep him winning in the tournament. I think our game actually might have been later in the day, but it's all a bit of a blur. So, is what it is. I lose the game. We keep going. And we keep playing. I win a couple more, and then I play against Matt W., recent World's top 8 player, on Dash, which is just the worst matchup in the game for Kano. And I lose. He Techo cores me on turn 0. Max velocities me my next turn. And then my Sonic Booms hit blue 0s. I just don't get there. So I lose, but I end up going into day 2 at 5-2. It's a top 32 cut. Peter makes it in at 6-1. I make it in at 5-2. So both of us Kanos are making it into day 2. And we're feeling pretty good. Things are going well. The only issue is draft is next. So on day 2, it's 3 rounds of draft, 4 rounds of constructed, top 8 cut. And I don't love draft. Now, I put quite a bit of practice into Bright Light's draft. Quite a bit being more than I put into any deck or any Flesh and Blood draft, because I don't like Flesh and Blood drafting. I don't like limited very much in general. I think Flesh and Blood sealed and draft is just not very fun for me. I much prefer constructed for various reasons that I'm not going to get into because they're very technical. But I wake up and we look at our pod, and it's the top 8 ranked players going into day 2. Or top 8 standing players, which is me at 8th. Peter, Codeman Jack, who's here in chat, the only 7-0 going into day 2, by the way. Michael Hamilton, world champion. Matthew W., world's top 8. Brody Spurlock, one of the most winningest players in the entire game. Raj, who's also very, 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 very good player, if slightly less accomplished than the others. I'm missing one person, or maybe 2 people. Matthew McInnes, another very, very, very good player, and I think one more that I didn't play against. I think I'm missing one. And Boulevard. Okay, it wasn't Boulevard. But basically what I'm getting at is this is the most insane draft pod I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. In Pro Tours, in Worlds, in Nationals, this is the strongest draft pod I've ever been a part of. And I'm a little bit worried. I end up drafting a pretty good max deck. And I get juiced. not juiced. I get beat by Raj. I made a couple not great draft decisions. I think my draft, I did it a little bit flawed. And I made a couple of mistakes in the actual draft that cost me my game against Raj, who played very, very well. It's always fun when I get to see people like accurately track pitch stacks, because I always think that's really cool. And I was looking for a block card, which I knew wasn't in this hand, but I knew was probably in the next hand. I don't like precisely track my pitch stack. I just kind of go, yep, these things are coming up. And Raj made an attack that has overpower, and I needed to have a block card. And if I have a block card, I probably win. And if I don't, then I probably lose. Well, not probably win, but like, you get what I'm saying. And so he attacks with the overpower card, and I'm like drawing my hand, and I'm like, oh, I need the block card, but I don't think I'm coming back to it yet. I think it's in the next hand. And he's like, yep, it's 3 cards down. And so I go like this: 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards off the top, and it's the block card. And I was like, very nice. I always like it when people can do that. I think it's really cool. So lose to Raj. And then I play my next round against Matthew McInnes, who blasts me. I do not win that game. My max deck just kind of like falters a little bit. I'm not getting all value. I think I could have played a little bit better. And again, my errors in draft are kind of compounding here. Third round is against Codeman Jack, and we're fighting to see who goes 0-3 in the draft. We're fighting to see who the worst limited players in the super stacked pod is. And I just fucking juice him. I just run him over. It's not close. My deck just like all cylinders fire. His doesn't quite work out very well, and it's over in like 4 turns or something. So sorry, Cody. But he's still 7-3, which is live for top 8, right? You just need to go X and 4. Back into constructed. I'm playing again, and I'm currently X and 4. I play against the Dromai. I sit down, and we get to a really, really tense spot where my opponent's at like 3. My opponent's at 3, and I have like red, blue, Lessons in Lava in hand, and their dragons on board can't kill me yet. I would go to like 2 or something, right? And so I can pull the trigger at any time, but my opponent has 1 million Ash Wings, which means 1 million Arcane Barrier. However, Dromai runs mostly reds, almost entirely reds. There's like 3 to 6 blues in the entire deck, sometimes. And so my opponent goes Chromai, and I go, yeah. And they attack with Chromai, and I block with my red card to get full value. Now, at any point in the turn, I can activate Kano, activate Crucible, activate Ragamuffins, and play my Lessons in Lava at instant speed. Right? At any point in the turn. But I want to get cards out of my opponent's hand. I want to force my opponent to try to kill me. That way, I can like be more safe, right? Because if I just fire and they have like double blue, I just lose. So they attack all the way down, and I'm at like 2, right? And they attack with red Dust Up, which doesn't have Go Again. So it's 4 attack. I'm at 2. And if it hits, they make an Ash, turn it into an Ashwing, whatever. But it doesn't have Go Again. So I go, okay, now I could just do the thing I talked about, and I kill my opponent through everything but like Sand Cover blue, right? Or double blue specifically. Do I kill them through double blue? Yes. So they have to have Sand Cover blue or double blue. Very unlikely. And they just used their last Ash, so they don't even have an Ash anymore. So they can't. So Sand Cover doesn't quite work. It would require them to like pitch a card to do this, and it'd have to be red, and so it wouldn't work. It'd have to be like double blue. But since Dust Up doesn't have Go Again, I'm like, oh, okay, I could fire this and I lose to double blue, or like Oasis Respite or something. Or I can block for 3, go to 1, Lessons in Lava on my own turn, and I'm 100% to win, right? And I don't want to get juiced by Oasis Respite, right? Which does exist, yep. But it's not played very often anymore. Or the double blue. That would be really sad, and it would be no point. So I block for 3 and take 1, and my opponent goes, make an Ash, flips into an Ashwing. And I'm like, yep, and I'm getting ready to go to my turn, and he goes, attack with the Ashwing. And I'm like, confused. So I'm like, it doesn't have Go Again. And he just taps his Chromai, which when it attacks, gives you an extra action point. And I just forgot. I just forgot. My opponent is like 98% chance dead, maybe even higher depending on their list, if I just fire the Lessons in Lava. But I want to take the 100%, and I forgot he has an extra action point. So I'm forced to block the Ashwing. And then he casts a Rake, and I die. And I'm just beating myself up, like, so bad. So bad. Because, like, that was my game. He showed he had double red. The game was another game that I just punted away. So 2 of my Kano matches, I just threw out the window. And that one's on me. But it happens. You know, it is what it is. So I'm at X and 5, and I'm dead for top 8. Right now I'm playing for top 16, which is just a invitational to the next realm invite, or the next realm invitational. Because I day 2'd, I already cashed for $200. So that doesn't suck. But I'm out of top 8 contention. It is what it is. I beat a couple people. I honestly don't even remember the games particularly well. Sorry. If you were hoping I would mention your games. And then I play against Mo Bogsley on Levia. Again, another very, very good matchup. But I know that Mo Bogsley is like pretty prepared for Kano because he plays Kano. And so even though the Levia matchup is good, it can draw well, and then he can get out of there, and blah, 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 blah. And he draws fucking fantastically. My man goes like Art of War on turn 1, Blood Rush Bellows on turn 2, Blood Rush Bellows on turn 3. And I'm like getting my ass whooped over here. Roll Scabs 4, like just getting there, right? Like I'm getting beat up. It's pretty rough. But then he goes to 0 resources, and I pull the trigger. I have the combo in hand, or he goes to like 2 resources, and I pull the trigger. Combo in hand and enough damage to kill him, even though I'm so far behind. All I need is when I activate my Ragamuffins, it needs to be a blue instead of a red, and the majority, or blue or a yellow. And there's only like 8 reds in the deck left, and the rest is blues and yellows. I Ragamuffins, and it's a red. And I show him, and he goes, because he plays Kano, so he gets it. I shake his hand, good game, and all that. And so I'm out of even top 16 now, which sucks. We finish out the event, and I'm not in anything. I take my $200 from top 32ing, but Peter makes top 8. He gets there after the most insane Kano versus Dromai game I've seen in a while. It's on camera. You can go watch it at the Realm Games YouTube channel, actually. Which means his deck list gets posted to the official website. Yes. Peter's deck list with the 9 meme cards that we put into it is online. And immediately the Discord messages start flowing. Immediately he's getting pinged left and right. Bro, why are you playing this card? What matchup does this come in for? What is this card for? How do you even use this thing? You have Reinforced Align, which only works if you block with an attack, but you only have 1 attack in your entire 80 cards. What's going on? I don't understand. And it's just glorious. It's so funny. So Peter's in top 8. The only issue with Peter being in top 8 is that on Sunday, we were planning to do the Team Sealed event because team events are super fun, even if Sealed isn't the greatest. It was going to be me, Peter, and it was going to be Puffball Panda, who lives pretty close, so she came by. She played some Dash.io over the weekend, and we were getting ready to mess things up. We were pretty excited about it. But because Peter's in top 8, we don't know if he'll get knocked out of top 8 fast enough to be able to play in the Sealed event. So we had to find another partner, and we do. Mara Ferris is like, hey, I have someone who is looking for a team. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. His name is Kevin, I believe. Also an Icelander player. Shout out Icelander, right? And so we kind of get ready for that, right? Wake up early because Peter's first in top 8, and we show up and watch just a banger. An absolute banger of a Kano game. Peter versus Raj. Raj, the guy who beats me in draft. It's just such a good game. So if you want to go like watch some Flesh and Blood, see what's up. It is the first game of the top 8 in the Realm Games YouTube. And it's incredible. Peter does end up losing, but it's so fun to watch. So he actually ends up still playing the Team Sealed event, just not with us because we have a teammate. He goes somewhere else. We open our sealed pool, and it's insane. It's so good. The only issue, you have to play like each of the heroes. So it's like 1 Max, 1 Teklovasin, and 1 Dash IO. Kevin wants to play Dash IO. We let him. We open it up. We have just like a busted Max deck. Our Max deck is like insanely good. I'm playing Max. We have a very good Teklovasin deck, which we give to Puffball Panda. Hello, Teklovasi. Sorry. Yeah, Puffball Panda plays Teklovasi, which was probably a mistake. I think Max is like actually a really difficult deck to beat like other Teklovasins with, because you have to be very like cognizant of running out of cards and fatiguing. And I was like, oh, I don't want to put that like pressure on her. Maybe we'll just give her the really good Teklovasin deck and she'll fatigue other people. But because our Max deck was so fucking good, it was just fatiguing the Teklovasins because it was just so strong. So I probably should have put her on Max, because what would happen is Puffball Panda has played some Flesh and Blood, not a lot, and she has not seen any of the new cards. So every single turn, she has to look at her cards and figure out what she wants to do. She has to read what her opponent's doing, read what her cards do, and figure it all out. And it's difficult because she's not as accustomed to the flow of Flesh and Blood. She hasn't played in like 6 months or something. And so she's taking really long on her turns. Not her fault. But these are timed games, and Teklovasin often goes to fatigue, meaning people run out of cards in their deck. So the games go really long, and you don't want draws in Flesh and Blood. So what ends up happening is she plays the first third of her game while I play my Max game. Kevin plays the Dash IO. And then the second my Max game is finished, I turn to her and I just start telling her what to do, which I feel really bad about, because we would have to finish in time. So she'd be like, I think I'm going to block with this. And I'll be like, no, block with this, attack with this. And I just have to be like, bang, bang, bang. I just have to do it like super fast, because otherwise we'd run out of time. And in round 2, we're 1-0. In round 2, that happens again. I win. Our Dash IO loses. Not his fault. The Dash IO deck was definitely worse than our other decks. It was missing overpower. Literally like 0 in the pool. So I'm trying to like speed run Puffball Panda's game, right? We're just trying to get it done so that it doesn't like go to time. Is outside influence real differently for team events? Yes, it's not outside influence. You are allowed to play as a team. You talk to each other. You can point things out. You can even pick up the cards and move them. It's really fun. So she's playing the Teklovasin versus Max, and it's looking like we're going to be able to fatigue the Max, but only if we play it super tight, right? And so we do, and we get there. However, we get to the point where the Max is going to do something, be forced to block, and have 1 card left. And the 1 card does not block. So our Max opponent will not be able to take any action on their turn, and then will not be able to block on our turn and will die. However, we don't have any cards that block either, but the Max deck can't do anything, so it doesn't matter. However, I can see as the time's ticking down, we have like 5 seconds left. I can see that our opponent doesn't realize he cannot win the game yet. I could see it. And if our opponent doesn't concede to us, because of how time rules works, it's going to be a draw, which is basically a loss for both teams. It's not like Magic, where you get like 1 point instead of 3. You both get 0 points. You both lose, basically. And so I say, blah, 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 no blocks, take 1 or whatever. You have, like, you can't attack, you can't block, you're determinedly, like, you can't attack, you can't block, you're going to die. Would you like to concede to us? Because if he takes an action or says something during time, there's judges right next to us. If he takes an action or does something during time, then we both lose. we'll take the draw and we both lose. And I don't want that to happen because we are going to win the game, but they have to concede to us. Otherwise, we don't win the game, right? And generally in these spots in Flesh and Blood, if you cannot win the game and your opponent is going to win, even if you go to time, you concede to your opponent, right? Because it's like, it's just negative for both of you to take a draw. So you concede to the person who's going to win, right? But I could, like I said, I could see my opponent doesn't realize it yet, and he's not going to concede. So I say what I said, you know, you can't block, we're going to win. Would you like to concede to us? Is this 100%? Yeah, 100%. There's literally 0 actions our opponent can take, and they're going to die. It's like checkmate in 1, but if we only have 1 legal move, right? Like, we literally cannot do anything to not win, and our opponent cannot do anything to not lose. It's not, like, it's past 100% certain we're going to win the game. He can't take any actions. Our only action kills him. And so, yeah, say that. We're going to win the game. You know, we're going to attack you. You can't block. We're going to win the game. Would you like to concede? I like jam it super fast right as time is called. And he goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't do anything. And then you're going to attack with a pistol or the gun, and I can't block. And yeah, no, we'll concede. We'll concede. Good game, guys. Good game. And the judge, the judge walks away from the table up to me and says, can I speak with you away from the table? And I'm like, ooh, that's not good. So I walk away with the judge, and the judge says, you cannot ask your opponent to concede to you. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you cannot. And I was like, at all? And she's like, no, you can't. And I say, can I appeal? Which basically means, like, I'd like to ask the head judge, right? Because in other card games, you totally can. I can ask my opponent to concede whenever I want to, right? So I talked to the head judge, and basically they explained to me that you're not allowed to ask your opponent to concede. You can't mention it. Yeah, you can't suggest it. And you can't say anything that might even a little bit influence your opponent to concede to you. I can't even, because I asked them, I was like, okay, so I can't say, would you like to concede to me? But can I say, wow, it appears you can't block and are going to die next turn? And they're like, no, you can't say that either. And I was like, wow, really? And they're like, you can't say anything. I'm like, damn, okay, that sucks. Like, what happens here then? And they go, well, you did something super illegal, and we're very harsh with this penalty, so your entire team gets a match loss. And I feel really bad. So we got a match loss on the match we won to make us 2-0 because I asked them to concede, which is fair. That's the rules. I just didn't know that. I've asked my opponents to concede before. In front of judges, my opponents have asked me to concede before. In front of judges, I had no idea. No idea in the slightest. Absolutely no clue. So I go back, I explain to the team, I'm like, sorry guys. And they're like, yeah, I mean, here's the thing though, like, the opposing team wasn't, like, the guy wasn't going to concede. So it would have basically been like a loss. Yeah, like Pup, it would have basically been a draw, which is pretty much a loss anyway. So it's like, whatever. Yeah, and Flesh and Blood has changed their concession rule multiple times, but it sucks. Whatever. That's my bad. So we're 1-1. And then we play another team and we lose again. Unfortunately, it comes down to like the last card. Again, Puffball Panda versus another Teklevossen. Comes down to literally the last card. If we could give her like one more 3-block in the deck, we win. But we couldn't, so we lose. And yeah, we end up fighting back and going 3-2, which is pretty great. And that ends up cashing us in for like $100, which pretty much refunds our entry, which was cool. Super, super, super fun event. I love team events. Had a blast. I hope everybody else had fun as well. I thought it was really cool. And that was pretty much the Realm invite. I'm sure I thought, I forgot about a bunch of stuff. You can ask the opponent if they want to concede before taking any actions when turns are announced. No, you cannot. You may not do that. That will get you a match loss. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I thought. Yeah. The only time you can ever ask your opponents to concede is before decks are presented. Yes. So, got me with that one. But yeah, that was the trip. It was super, super fun. Like I said, I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff. But it was great. I ended up I ended up trading a buddy for a Marvel Kano, which I'm very, very excited about because it's so pretty and all that stuff. But it's time to head back. So Monday morning, I get on a plane and I start heading back. And my first plane gets delayed a little bit. Not like a lot of it, just like a little bit. I'm talking like 20 minutes, right? But that means that when my first plane lands, I have 20 minutes before my second plane departs. Not before my second plane starts boarding, before my second plane departs. And I'm way in the back of the plane. So I'm a bit worried. And I have on Mondays Champion Draft Series. My game is at 3:30 p.m. And both my flights ended up getting pushed back a little bit. But my game's at 3:30 p.m. and I was supposed to land at like 2:45, 2:30. So I was like, oh yeah, so I'll land, I'll go get my car or whatever, and I'll play my Champion Draft Series. 2 planes from Columbus to Cali. Dude, try to fly to Ohio from Columbus. Yeah, try to fly to Columbus from anywhere. It's going to be like 2 planes. It's fucking ridiculous. But the issue is because I had to like sprint from one plane to another and I was so worried about it, I didn't let anybody know that my flights had been pushed back a little bit. And so I was going to be a little bit late to my Champion Draft Series game, right? So I land in Sacramento, which is the airport I fly out of about half the time. And my phone's like, buzz, 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 buzz. And I'm like, oh God. And I look and it's Pink Ghost, who is one of the people who runs the Champion Draft Series, letting me know that I missed decklist submission and didn't turn it in on time. And I'm past when the match is supposed to start. So I'm already getting a game loss. But that message was from like 10 minutes ago. So I'm like, oh my God, this is what happened. Blah, 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 blah. I'm literally sitting on the plane right now. And he's like, well, you can still play the match. You're just already down a game. And if you take any longer, you just lose the match. And I was like, okay. I'm ready. So I just turn in the same decks from last time. It's Elusives, Rise, Thresh, Nasus. And he's like, all right, yeah, good luck. And I'm like, I can't open the Excel sheet. So I asked him to send me my opponent's deck list, who's L Games BR. And I get the deck list, and they're playing. Remember, I'm playing Elusives, Rise, and Thresh Nasus, which is getting banned. So, like, just put that out of your mind. Elusives and Rise. And my opponent registers Fearsomes, and a Zerarelia, which is just like a hyper target lineup for Rise and Elusives. And I'm like, so I look, and I'm down a game because I was on the plane, looking at my opponent's list, realizing I'm screwed. I'm down a game. I have to 2-0 against a super counter lineup. And I'm deboarding my plane. So I'm like putting in my ban. I ban like a Zerarelia as I'm like standing up from my seat and like shuffling out of the plane. So I'm playing my game. Yeah, walking out of the plane, walking through security. I'm getting on like the little tram to go to like the baggage claim area and all that while I'm like trying to play my match on shitty ass internet connection. And I fucking smoke him. It was so bad. I ban a Zerarelia. I play Elusives. I pump up a Sparklefly. Just run him over in game 1. Just obliterate him. Yeah. And then in game 2, I'm playing Rise. Never draw Rise. And kill him with damage with Master Yi. I'm like offensively like bouncing and stunning things so I could just push in damage, and I kill him with Master Yi, never draw Rise, 2-0, win the match. So funny. And this is all when I'm like bumping into people at the airport, like trying to get a connection. Just so funny. Oh man, yeah. I feel kind of bad. You show up with like a super counter lineup against a lineup that's able to be countered. Your opponent takes a game loss because they're not even there, because they're like on a plane, and then you lose. 0-2. Feels pretty rough, man. I felt a little bit bad about that. I would have felt bad if that happened to me. The games are not, I don't have them available to watch. I can ask Pink Ghost and stuff because I know they spectated. I don't know if they recorded. I think L Games BR has them on there. I think they streamed it. So you could probably see it from their point of view. But yeah, and then the whole time on the flight though, I'm thinking, I'm so hungry, guys. I leave the hotel at like 9:10, like close to 10 a.m. My flight leaves at 11 Eastern time. I land at like 3:30 Pacific time, so like 6:30 Eastern time. So I don't eat food at all the whole day because my plan was to grab a snack in between flights. But because I had to sprint, I couldn't get a snack. So I didn't eat food from basically when I woke up to roughly 6:30 when I landed, and I'm dying. So the whole time I'm thinking there's this Mongolian barbecue place that I really like. And it's pretty much on the way home. And they have hot and sour soup and spicy Mongolian barbecue, and it's so good. And I'm just like drooling thinking about this Mongolian barbecue on both of my flights. And I decide, yeah, that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to go there. So I'm thinking about it. I land, and right before, it's actually even before I get the Discord notifications about the CDS match, I open up maps, I search the Mongolian barbecue place, and it's fucking closed on Mondays. It's not even open. So instead, I find some Chinese place that has really good reviews, and then I go and I look at their menu, and I'm so hungry. It's like 8 p.m. Eastern. It's Pacific, but I was on Eastern time before. So I haven't eaten from when I woke up to basically 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I'm fucking dying. And all I want is this nice, spicy, hot and sour soup. So I go to this Chinese place, and they have like the dinner specials or whatever. And it comes with like wonton or like rice soup or whatever. But they have hot and sour soup. So I'm like, hey, I want this thing. And I want this dinner special or whatever. And can I substitute the wonton for hot and sour? I'll even like pay extra or whatever. And she looks at me and she goes, no, because it comes with wonton soup. And I'm crushed. I'm not going to order a $10 like thing of hot and sour soup just for me to have it. And I like wonton soup. So I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. Just give me the food. I'm so hungry. And so she brings me the wonton soup, and it's just like broth and 2 wontons. There's no like vegetables or like anything else, which is what I'm used to. Most of the Chinese places around here, when you get wonton soup, it has like a bunch of stuff in it. It's like really good. This one is not. It's just broth and 2 shitty ass wontons. So that was disappointing, but I'm like, at least the food is probably going to be good, right? And so I start eating the food, and it's like, I'm starving, which makes everything taste good, and it was still maybe mid at best. Maybe. And I'm so bummed, man. I was looking forward to like really good food the whole time. I finally get to eat. I don't get to eat what I want, and it's not even good. And that was just a kick in the teeth. So brutal. So I go home dejected, and I fall asleep at like 7:30. Wake up at 7:30 the following day, get breakfast, and then get on for early access stream. And here we are. And that was my trip. The only thing I didn't mention, well, there's a lot of things I didn't mention, but one of them is that I read like 3 books on the trip that were all very good, kind of. So I'll talk about that on stream at some point. But yeah, that was a story time. That was the weekend. Incredibly fun tournament. I had a blast. What is it with these completely despairful tournament weekends? This one was really fun. I had a really good time. I got to hang out with a lot of friends. Peter top 8'd. I cashed. Right, we cashed both the 20K Invitational and the Team Sealed. Can't be too mad about it, right? And that's it. What I eat next? I made a pancake in the morning. Yeah, absolutely super, super fun tournament. Codeman Jack got 9th, which is brutal. And yeah, that's all I got. Next big story time will likely be for Legend of Runeterra Worlds. So hopefully that's a really good one. What's the prize for top 8? Thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Yeah. 8th is like 800, but if they split, it would have been $1,800 for each person. and they end up splitting in top 4 for like 3K a person. Ethan ended up making top 4, so that's super sick. Very happy for him that my punt helped him out. Anyway, yeah, like I said, that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for coming. See you next time.